Okay, so today we're going to be doing Chapter 8, Lesson 6. We're going to be talking about writing and graphing inequalities. So this chart is on the top of workbook page 618. You don't have to go to that page. We're just going to look at this chart. So we're going to be using inequalities. We use inequalities to show things that are not equal. So when you think of the word inequalities, it's kind of like unequal, not equal. So that could help you remember what an inequality is. We have 4 symbols for inequalities. The one that points to the left is the less than symbol. And something to help you remember is that that one opens in the same direction that the letter L would open. So when you see the one that opens in the same direction as the letter L, they're both open to the right with the point to the left. That's the less than symbol. The next one, which is the opposite, is pointing to the right. That represents greater than. Then we also have pointing to the left with a half an equal sign underneath. What that means is that the numbers are less than or equal to. And then lastly, going in the other direction, pointing to the right with half an equal sign is greater than or equal to. So some common phrases that we see for the less than symbol, you might see is fewer than. For the greater than symbol, you might see is more than. Less than or equal to, a lot of times you'll see the phrase is at most. And then greater than or equal to you use when you see the phrase is at least. So now we're going to do some practice problems on page 627. So go to that page and follow along with what I'm writing in your workbook. So what we want to do for this first part is we want to write an inequality for each sentence. So we want to use those symbols that we just learned about. Part A says, you must be older than 13 to play in a basketball game. So if you have to be older than 13, that means we could say A is going to represent your age, and the way that you would write that is A is greater than 13. Your age needs to be greater than 13 to play in a basketball league. Part B, to use one stamp, your domestic letter must weigh under 3.5 ounces. So under, we're going to use the less than symbol, which points to the left. But what needs to be less than 3.5 ounces is your stamp. So you could say S equals the stamp's ounces. So now we could write our inequality. S, representing the stamp's ounces, needs to be under, so less than, pointing to the left, 3.5. Letter C, you must be over 48 inches tall to ride the roller coaster. So I'm going to say I equals inches, or you could say H equals height inches. Inches needs to be over, greater than, 48. Last one, D, you must be at least 18 years old to vote. So this one's again talking about age, so I'm going to use A again for age. Now, when it says at least, that means you can be 18 or older. So we're going to use greater than or equal to 18 because that means you have to be older than 18, but you also can be 18. So greater than or equal to 18. So now on that same page, we're going to talk about graphing inequalities. So inequalities can be graphed on a number line. Sometimes it's impossible to show all the values that make an inequality true. The graph helps you see the values that make the inequality true. So we usually graph the solutions of inequalities because the solutions could be infinitely many numbers. Like if I said x is greater than 6, then x could be anything from 6.1 or 6.00001, the closest number after 6, all the way to infinity. So we're going to graph it to show the solutions at the bottom of this page. So when we graph inequalities, Whenever we have the less than symbol or the greater than symbol, we put an open dot at the number to show that it can't be that exact number, but it could be the next decimal right after that number. So we use an open dot, and then we're going to shade left if it's less than, right if it's greater than. Now, if we have less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, we use a closed dot on the number because that shows that it's any number you shade depending left or right and that number included. So if it's less than or equal to, we are also going to shade left. If it's greater than or equal to, also going to shade right. So let's do these two examples, E and F. So E says A could be any number that's less than 15, because see, this is pointing in the same direction as the letter L, so that's the less than symbol. So if A could be any number less than 15, we're going to put an open dot at 15 because it's the less than symbol. It's not exactly 15, but it could be anything right less than 15. So I'm going to shade to the left of 15 to show that any number in this shaded area can be A, because A could be anything less than 15. And I'm going to draw an arrow to the left because this number line goes on forever to negative infinity. So these are all the solutions for what A could be in this problem. For letter F, B could be any number that's greater than or equal to 7. So 7 itself could be a solution. So we're going to put a closed dot. So whenever we're using the greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, we do a closed dot. Now, because it could be any number 7 or bigger, because greater than or equal to, we're going to shade all the numbers that are 7 or bigger. That's to the right. So B could be any of these numbers. And I'm going to draw an arrow because this number line continues on forever. B could also be 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We're just only seeing a small part of the number line, so we have to shade an arrow at the end to show that the number line continues and B could be any of those numbers to the right of the number line.